A tree, a silent guardian of the desert's oldest secret, nourished civilizations for 4,000 years with its golden pods, in an environment where sustenance was otherwise impossible. Yet, in less than a century, it faced near eradication, denounced as a weed, incinerated, and purged from the land. Nevertheless, beneath the Earth's surface, a latent force awaited its resurgence. This is the narrative of mesquite, the tree that offered sweetness before refined sugar existed, and may well provide the solution for what lies ahead. Welcome to Nature's Lost Vault. Our journey commences in the Sonoran Desert, specifically Tucson, Arizona. Here, clay jars, interred 4,000 years ago, contained perfectly preserved mesquite seeds. Discovered by archaeologists in 1998, these seeds remarkably retained their viability after millennia. The ancients who carefully stored them, despite lacking written language, possessed an understanding that eluded us for a time. In a region where corn withered and rivers dwindled to dust, mesquite consistently yielded its bounty, serving as a bastion of life. The tree's root system delved over 100 feet deep, surpassing any well and enduring extended droughts. Scientists later ascertained that these roots could retain up to 600 gallons of water, enough to survive a decade of summer. The fruit it bore was an engineering marvel. Each pod contained 35% natural sugar, complete protein, and soluble fiber. The air within a blooming grove was redolent with the aroma of caramel and smoke. When milled into flour, it remained unspoiled for months. The Tohono O'odham referred to it as our sugar, a testament to its value, echoed by the Pima, Yaqui, and Hia Ked O'odham. For thousands of years, families collected the pods as they cascaded like rain, pulverizing them into soft flour that sustained entire communities. Upon their arrival in 1535, Spanish explorers marveled at it. Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca described pods with the pure taste of honey. He observed families grinding them into meal, then baking them into cakes that provided sustenance through winter. They christened it the Tree of Life. By 1541, another explorer documented expansive forests along the Rio Grande, with canopies so dense they created their own shaded ecosystems. Whole villages thrived under their branches. The tree generously provided without demanding anything in return. However, the story soon took a somber turn. By the late 1800s, the land exchanged hands. Ranchers, accompanied by cattle, cotton, and ambitions of conquest, moved in. To them, mesquite was not the tree of life. It was merely a weed, an impediment to profit. Colonists introduced sugarcane from faraway islands, establishing mills, plantations, and systems of control. Mesquite, which grew freely without irrigation or ownership, held no place in this new order. Millions of acres were cleared, and trees were felled. Yet mesquite does not yield easily. Even when its trunk was severed, the roots remained. Silent, patient, biding their time underground. They burned it to cultivate cotton and poisoned it for wheat, but the roots burrowed deeper than anyone anticipated. Despite being cut to the ground, mesquite rebounded, producing 10 new shoots for every trunk removed. The United States Department of Agriculture, after decades of attempting to obliterate it, finally conceded in 1948 that mesquite was ineradicable. But beneath the surface, another narrative was unfolding. The tree wasn't just surviving, it was mending the land. By the early 1900s, ranchers believed they had triumphed. Millions of cattle roamed where mesquite once stood. They had transformed wilderness into prosperity, or so they thought. Within 2 decades, the soil fractured like pottery, rivers desiccated, the denuded ground eroded in the wind, and cattle began to starve. The very tree they had cleared, the one dismissed as a pest, started its slow resurgence. Ranchers labeled it an invader, oblivious to its presence long before any fence or railway. Then, scientists observed something unexpected. Where mesquite returned, the soil underwent transformation. Its deep roots drew nitrogen from the atmosphere, a feat few plants can achieve, and infused it back into the depleted ground. Beneath its canopy, which cooled the soil, grass began to flourish once more. Wildlife reappeared, and the desert started to breathe again. By the 1970s, ecologists bestowed upon it a new designation: a keystone species, the silent architect of the desert ecosystem. Its pods became sustenance for deer, javelina, and coyotes. Its flowers nourished native bees. Its wood offered shelter. What the world had deemed a weed had all along been quietly restoring the land. Thus, a crucial question arose. If a tree could endure every recorded drought and rejuvenate the earth beneath it, why had humanity ever forsaken it? By the 1990s, the land began to reclaim its own. Droughts intensified across the American Southwest. Farmers sought crops capable of thriving with minimal water. It was then that scientists revisited the tree they had disregarded for a century. In 1993, the USDA initiated desert crop studies, yielding astonishing results. The flower contained 3 times more calcium than milk, and as much protein as eggs, all derived from a tree that required neither irrigation nor fertilizer. Concurrently, a peculiar craving materialized. People consumed more sugar than ever before, yet experienced a corresponding rise in illness. Global sugar consumption exceeded 170 million tons annually, and diabetes cases tripled within 2 decades. Physicians sought natural sugars that could provide energy without adverse effects. Researchers then redirected their attention to the desert. In 2005, a team at the University of Arizona discovered that its sweetness originated from fructosaccharides, plant sugars that nourish beneficial gut bacteria rather than elevating blood sugar. Mesquite pods possessed a low glycemic index, making them safe for individuals managing diabetes. A teaspoon of mesquite flour could sweeten coffee without causing an energy crash. It tasted of earthy caramel and smoke, a flavor nature crafted for equilibrium. One scientist penned, "It's the sugar that heals instead of harms." By 2010, health stores across the United States began marketing mesquite sweetener, hailing it as the sugar of the future. Prices surged to $20 a pound, transforming an ancient food into a modern luxury. Chefs in Tucson and Santa Fe started baking mesquite bread and even crafting mesquite ice cream. The same fruit once prescribed by empires now graced supermarket shelves alongside maple syrup and honey. However, the true rediscovery stemmed not solely from laboratories or culinary experts, but from memory. Around 2012, a quiet movement emerged in the deserts of Sonora and Arizona. A small group of indigenous farmers, elders, and food historians sought to resurrect mesquite from mere memory into living reality. They termed it reclaiming the forgotten tree. Many still possessed ancient seeds, meticulously preserved in jars and safeguarded through generations. A Tohono O'odham farmer named Maria Lopez commenced replanting them in 2013, employing her grandmother's technique, burying seeds near dry washes where water once flowed. Within 2 years, her trees were laden with pods. She recalled the scent evoking childhood mornings, when families roasted pods for breakfast. What began as a modest act of remembrance blossomed into a movement. By 2018, community seed banks in Tucson and the Hermosillo started amassing mesquite varieties from across the Southwest. Some bore pods red as clay, others a pale gold. Botanists identified over 30 native species, each uniquely adapted to its specific desert niche. The world was recollecting what indigenous peoples had known for centuries. Authentic sweetness does not originate in factories. It flourishes silently in the heat. By 2020, the discourse surrounding food shifted again. Global droughts shattered records. In parts of California, farmland cracked. Wheat yields plummeted by 40%. Rivers that once sustained entire cities evaporated. Scientists began posing a simple query. What survives when all else fails? The answer consistently pointed back to the mesquite tree. NASA researchers, investigating sustainable crops, noted how its deep roots could reach up to 200 feet underground, accessing water inaccessible to other plants. One scientist remarked, "It is less a tree, more a lesson in endurance." Governments began to take notice. In 2021, Mexico's National Forestry Commission launched initiatives to replant mesquite across 300,000 hectares of degraded land. And because the Prosopis genus, the mesquite family, thrives in arid regions globally, farmers in Argentina, India, and Kenya joined the effort. The Food and Agriculture Organization declared it a forgotten crop of survival. The tree that once symbolized resistance now serves as a blueprint for the future. Every pod, every branch, every root carries a reminder. The solutions to tomorrow's hunger may already be burgeoning in the soil beneath our feet. This knowledge is not lost. It awaits our remembrance. If this vault has illuminated something for you, and you value these narratives, please subscribe and activate the bell icon. Every like and every share contributes to preserving this forgotten wisdom collaboratively. The next vault will soon be unveiled.